As the leader of the Booner pack, I lead from the front.
All right, boys. Lock in.
It's our core foundation, man. Grit.
I'm fired up. I'm fired the up, boys.
It's pumping right now. It's got my juices pumping, boys.
Good morning. It's a Monday morning after a devastating Lions loss. I'm joined by Caleb Czarnik. Monday mornings are back. We're reacting to the Lions getting their ass whooped by the Green Bay Packers. So today's going to be more of a vent session, breaking the game down, all kinds of things. It's like you ever been in one of those places where you like break shit? You can like pay to like break shit.
Yeah, I'd love to be in one of those places right now.
That's what we need for Lions fans. You just go in there, break a bunch of shit, and hopefully it'll make you feel a little better. We do get to see the Bears tonight, so we'll get to kind of see. We'll get to measure them a little bit. But, yeah, that was brutal. It doesn't feel any better today, obviously. But what I will say is I've gotten to sleep on it and really think about it and process my feelings because we did our post-game show and we were just basically going off about John Morton and the offense. Talked about panic level and stuff. You know what the conclusion I came to is?
Let's hear it, Jeff.
I'm just as panicked this morning.
Okay. Yep. And
yeah, I'm just as panicked this morning. Actually, sleeping didn't really do shit, to be honest. If I'm being just completely transparent, it didn't help.
Yeah, man. I was hoping I was going to wake up this morning and feel not necessarily a little bit better about how they played, because I don't know how you could feel good in any way about how the Detroit Lions played yesterday, but I was hoping to wake up and say, okay, maybe it's one game, let that one go win next week. But man, Jeff, I didn't walk out of that game with one positive for the Detroit Lions. No pass rush. The offensive line was bad. Play calling was bad. The secondary didn't look great in the first quarter, first half at least. So I don't know. I guess it's on to Chicago, right? Got to go beat the Bears next week at Ford Field.
It's on to Chicago. I'll start here. All right, the game, and this is my pan. I'll just start with this question for the people here. I see Michael Daly's in there. Justin No, shout out Sean Murphy as well.
Shout out.
The people are fired up, and rightfully so. I don't know what I was expecting out of a week one debut from John Morton and Calvin Shepard, but whatever that was far from it. And I will start with the defense. I thought Calvin Shepard, although the defense did not look great, Jordan Love in that first half looked elite. Like that quarterback right there was not the QB that we were discussing that is inconsistent. That Packers fans should be, worried about. That quarterback in the first half they can win a Super Bowl with the way he looked. All right. And although he looked very good and he shredded this Lions defense, shredded them, I will still give Calvin a little bit of credit because the run defense was good to start. They had moments. They were bad on third down, but then they ended up improving on third down. They showed that they were willing to adjust from a coaching perspective, like Michael just said in the second half. It got to a point late where it didn't really matter because the offense was so bad and the defense just they couldn't. They weren't sitting on the sidelines for very long. They kept going back on the field. So I'm willing to give the defense a little more grace. I thought they showed flashes yesterday, and they still don't have one of their best defensive players in Lee McNeil. Terran Arnold left the game early. So you're willing to kind of live with it to some extent. Like you still want to see the defense improve. Like that's a defense we were talking about being top 10, top 5, whatever. That they're not that. So defensively, there was concerning parts, but at least I'm willing to give the defense a little more grace because I thought they showed some flashes, Caleb. At least I got to see a little bit of like, okay. The thing I will say, Calvin, never, ever, ever drop Aiden Hutchinson and Marcus Davenport into coverage again. Just don't ever do that again. Let's just go in the playbook, find whatever that is, and just cross it off. Let's just never. I don't want to see Aiden Hutchinson or Marcus Davenport, your two best pass rushers when you have three edges on the roster, dropping into coverage. Unless maybe in goal line situations where you catch them off guard. I think Aiden's done that. And that's where he's actually gotten picks, to be honest, where they're in goal line situations. I think he's had one not in goal line situation. It was against the Panthers. But most of the time, it's like goal line where it's like, oh, dropping back. This dude's dropping back like he's Anzalone. I mean, we got to cut that shit out. Yeah. But other than that, I think overall, I'm willing to give Calvin a little more grace there.
Yeah, and I'll say this. To start the second half, if you remember, the defense actually made a couple stops where the offense had, they could have scored and made this a better football game. So, I mean, the Lions come out of the half, they get a field goal, then the Lions force a punt, and then the Lions punt. And then the Lions force another punt from Green Bay, and then the Lions punt again. So the defense in the second half, to start the second half, gave the Lions the ability to maybe make that a better football game if the offense would have executed better. But they just didn't. But I do agree. I mean, after the first quarter or so, I thought Kelvin Shepherd and the defense did a pretty good job. I mean, what they give up after the first quarter? 13 points. After that, I think they probably gave up like 3.5 yards of carry, so they stopped the run pretty well. But I mean, overall, it's hard to play well defensively when your offense is giving the ball away, off an interception and then 3 and outs and punts. So, I mean, overall, I'd give Kelvin Shepherd probably a C plus. I'd say game for his first game as defensive coordinator. But I mean, there's so much talent on that defense. I think things are gonna. I think there's gonna be games where we're like, wow, this defense is pretty good, but it's gonna take some time.
Yeah, because you start with the pass rush, and this is where I think my frustration comes when you drop Aiden and Davenport into coverage. They don't have much of a pass rush anyway, and those moments were a little frustrating. They weren't getting pressure from their defensive line most of the time. They weren't getting pressure when they set linebackers. I thought Derek Barnes would have more of an impact rushing the passer. He didn't have much of an impact at all. So that was frustrating. So hopefully over the season, those guys just get better. But this is what I'll say too. And this is why I'm willing to give Calvin a little more grace with it, because Calvin is, what is he, in his 30s? This is his first big, he's been a linebacker coach. He gets promoted. I'm willing to let him grow. Here's where I'm not really willing to let Johnny Morton grow, because he said it himself. I think a little bit of growth, but overall, he said it himself. What did he say at the press conference? I've been in football. I've been in the NFL for 20-something years. This, I don't get nervous. I've been around football. So when he says all of that, it's hard for me to be like, well, just give him time to grow. It's
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If he's telling me he's been in football for 20-something years, he's been around all these great offensive coaches, he helped Ben Johnson construct this playbook. He's an offensive guru. He's 50-something years old, so he's not a 30-year-old OC where you're like, oh, this guy, he's still learning. No, not really. And honestly, they also have all the personnel that they have the personnel in place to succeed. So I think the defense, like we kind of said, and the defensive line wasn't great. I completely understand that. The defense late too, they had 17 points, I believe, going into the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 17 points going into the fourth quarter, which is winnable. This Lions offense has been averaging almost 30 the last 2 years. So you'd think 17 points in the fourth quarter would be enough to win a game. It wasn't. And this is the offense, to start off a game, right? You go into the game, the Packers go 12 plays, 83 yards, and a touchdown. So it's frustrating, but you're like, all right, 12 plays, 83. They go all the way down the field, a 5-minute drive, they score. Fine, whatever. Lions get the ball, 3 plays, -4 yards.
Yeah.
I'll say it again. 3 plays on their first drive, -4 yards. That right there is how you lose momentum. And not only that, Packers get the ball back. They go down and kick a field goal. The Lions get the ball back. So you're like, okay, 3 plays, -4 yards is all we have to show. How do the Lions respond, right? Oh, how are they going to respond? 16 plays, 78 yards for a field goal. That's the offense for the Lions, dude. 16 freaking plays for a
and what I had, it wasn't like a clean drive either. They got
it was nasty.
Yeah,
it was nasty. Not like a good nasty. It was disgusting nasty. It was bad. So they took 16 plays to get 3 points, and so they kicked the field goal. Packers go down and score. Now it's 17-3. How do the Lions respond? 13 plays for 55 yards, ends on a pick. Like, and so you're thinking, okay, this is bad. That was their drives. They go to half after that. Obviously, the Packers punt, and then the Lions go to half. So they're 3 drives: punt, 16 plays for a field goal, and 13 plays for a pick. That is, in their first drive, they went back. They had -4 yards in 3 plays. This is it's concerning. Like, there's no reason, and this is what I've always said. And this isn't me trying to take a victory lap. I'm just trying to have a legit conversation. People tell me, Jeff, don't worry. And I even bought into it. So shame on me. Don't worry. The personnel, coaching doesn't matter. The NFL is one of the only sports where coaching actually matters the most. It's scheme. You can have talent. You still need to scheme guys open, make things happen. It's like chess pieces. You have to make sure guys are in the right position. It's not like basketball, and me and you are huge NBA fans, where you can just be like, all right, this guy on the sideline could just be a doofus, and they're just going to run vanilla sets and score points because they're playing basketball. The NFL is not like that. You can have talent. You saw it yesterday. They have talent. Now, the offensive line we'll get to, because they didn't have a great day. Offensive line was bad. But they shouldn't have looked that bad with that offensive line. Like, what they didn't have yesterday, they lacked creativity. They lacked urgency. They lacked explosiveness. And if you want to blame all of that on one player with Frank Ragnow, then you can do that. For me, I've seen teams with lesser offensive line still score points. Maybe not explosive, this Lions offense the last 2 years, but you saw the downgrade in OC yesterday. You saw it. It was clear as day. And the thing with John Morton, man, is, and this is the question I ask, why, if this man is as bright as people say he is, which I'm not denying, he's an offensive, he knows the offense, but so do a lot of NFL coaches. Like, he's been a part of offensive staffs. I hope the guy knows offense. The difference is, can he call plays? That takes another level. That's another skill level. Calling a play, knowing when to call the play, game planning, knowing your players, how to get the best out of your players, setting things up. Like, there's a lot that goes into being just a play caller rather than a guy in the room that just, draws things on a whiteboard or helps game plan. Like, calling plays is another level. That's why not every play caller works out, but most play callers know football. They all know ball. Like, if you sat down with some of the worst play callers, I bet if you watch one of the worst play callers break down the game of football, you'd be like, this guy knows ball. But then you watch him call plays, and you're like, this guy stinks. Like, that can happen too. So John Morton, I don't deny, knows football. My problem is, if he's as sharp and as bright of an OC as everyone is telling me he is, and I started to believe he is, why hasn't he been an OC earlier? Like, John Gruden didn't make him his OC. Sean Payton didn't make him his OC. What am I missing here? I'm missing what's going on with John Morton. Is it like he's the best offensive coordinator that never got hired to be an OC, except for the Jets job, and then after that he never got another job? I don't understand. At 55 years old, which in the NFL everyone's getting jobs in the 30s. Like, I don't know. Maybe that's the big red flag that I mentioned on the show, but I looked past, and I should have known better, to be honest. That's hand up. I should have known better, because I brought it up and then I talked myself out of it. I should have stood on business and said, no. Why hasn't this dude been an OC more? Like, I'm confused. Even in Denver, like, no. And I know Sean Payton calls plays, but you get my point. He hasn't had an OC job since that Jets job. I don't get it.
Yeah, Jeff, shame on me as well, because I was on board with the personnel. You just have too much talent. You can't succeed. No, you're right. I mean, coaching it's like you said, it's so important in the NFL more than any other sport. And you talk about the lack of creativity and Johnny Moe not putting his players in a position to succeed. Jeff, we have two of the most explosive players in the NFL, in Jamison Williams and Jahmyr Gibbs. There is no fucking reason under the sun Jahmyr should have 19 touches for 50 yards. And I don't know if you saw that stat. I think Justin Rogers posted it. Jahmyr Gibbs, it had, for a player that had double-digit receptions, he had the least amount of receiving yards in NFL history for a player with double-digit catches. That shouldn't happen with that explosive of a player like Jahmyr Gibbs. Like, these checkdowns, 3 yards past the line of scrimmage, it's not going to cut it. You got to find a way to get a guy like Jahmyr Gibbs in space. He's one of the most explosive players in the NFL. And look, I get it. Jared Goff did not have much time to throw with that offensive line. I'm sure they were trying to set up some sort of deep ball to Jameson Williams, like we heard a ton of in training camp. Like, oh, Johnny Moe's going to throw the ball deep to J-Mo. He loves to throw the ball deep. Then try it at least once. You get sacked, you get sacked. It's whatever. We got to try something. There was no flow in the offense. There was no creativity. It was just they never found their role. One time they never were in like a flow state like we saw last year at many points. So Jeff, you're right. And look, it's a long season. Things can happen. I think the more this offensive line plays together and the chemistry, that they will gain with each other, it might open up that playbook a little bit more. But I guess me thinking that Ben Johnson handing the baton to Johnny Moe is going to be flawless was just a stupid thing to think, because we saw it yesterday. There's going to be some hiccups, but I didn't think the hiccups were going to turn into big fat burps like yesterday.
Yeah, I didn't either. And I don't think anyone expected like that, like even Ben Johnson. And I'm going to try and watch, because this is a sensitive topic to bring up Ben Johnson after yesterday. And I understand it. But even Ben Johnson's first game wasn't this bad. It just wasn't.
It was not.
And he had less talent. So we have to keep it a stack and be like, hey, we can't just blame it on. It's his first game. Ben Johnson had less talent and looked better. I mean, John Morton has more talent and looks. And
it was his first time as an offensive coordinator.
Yes,
like you're saying.
That's a great point. At 35 years old, John Morton's been in the league for 20 something years. Been around some great offensive coach. Like, he has less of a like. Come on, John. You know what I'm saying? Like Calvin, I'm willing to give a little more grace to. So it was bad. I think people should be concerned. Again, you don't have a choice but to let this thing play out. But coordinators absolutely can make or break teams. And I've always acknowledged that. It's whether you think it'll happen or not. And I thought Kelvin, I was always more confident in Kelvin. And I've been saying that. But John Morton, I was like, you know what? I don't think John Morton can really – I would be surprised if he messed it up. Well, we saw yesterday he can easily mess it up. So that's concerning. Now, the offensive line, I'll say this, was not great. They were actually bad, to be honest.
Bad.
And that's where I think that's a whole nother topic to get into, because the offensive line throughout Dan's tenure, they've been good. They got Panay, they had Frank, they had Decker, they had parts Jonah, and they had Graham, but then they kind of retooled and still got Zeitler, and they've always been a very good offensive line. Jared Goff is not mobile, so you need to protect him. And what's the worst type of pressure for a quarterback? Pressure from the interior, especially for a quarterback who can't move. Like, Jared Goff's one of the only quarterbacks left in the NFL that just doesn't move, which I'm not saying is a bad thing. I'm just saying it's a reality. Like, it's obviously worked well for him. He's been really good. But when you're not protecting him, I think that's why a lot of those plays went to checkdowns, because he'd drop back and get pressure. He'd have pressure almost immediately. Tate Ratledge played bad. Graham Glasgow played bad. Mahogany actually had moments where he looked really good, especially in the run game. He's a mauler, but he didn't have his best. No one really had their best game. But even Panay had a down game. So when you kind of factor all that into it, Jared Goff's under pressure. They can't get push in the run game. Like when Jameer touched the football, there's already 2-3 defenders in the backfield. Like so it's like, as much as you can go, I can't even really blame David or Jameer. Like, those guys touch the ball, and there's already players in the backfield. And to be honest, I think Johnny Moe wanted to go deep. I thought there was intent there to be like, let's push the ball a little downfield and let's have some explosive plays. I think he believes in that, of course. But they couldn't wait for anything to develop anyway, because there was just pressure in his face. So I'm not saying the offensive line made it easier. It made it harder. But the problem is, as an OC, you have to look at what you have. You have to look at your personnel and understand that your offensive line is not what it used to be. And your job is to be creative enough to scheme around that, figure it out, get quick out routes or be creative in different ways to get the ball out quicker. And I just thought there was no adjustment. I thought it was just basically like, hey, we're going to drop back. We're going to check it down to Gibbs 14 times, and we're just going to call it a day. It's like, that was disgusting. That was bad. Like, and there was just, from an offense we've gotten to see the last 2 years with Ben and see how creative they've been and how they're always keeping the defense on their heels. Yesterday, they didn't keep the Packers on their heels, man.
No.
The Packers were always a step ahead defensively, it felt like. Always.
Yeah, and what a big change from, I mean, years prior to now is like we had to fight for every single yard yesterday,
hard,
especially in the run game. Like last year with Monty and Gibbs, we saw that. I mean, they would be 3 yards past the line of scrimmage before they even got touched. So, I mean, yeah, the offensive line, especially the interior, did not look great yesterday, especially Tate Ratledge. I mean, a guy that was very highly anticipated going into the year did not look great. But hopefully he gets better throughout the year. But Jeff, my question to you is like, I'm looking at this schedule and where is your get right game? I guess you could say, because you have Chicago next week, which could be, that could be a dogfight. It's a divisional matchup. Then you have Baltimore, Cleveland, who just, I think the Bengals had 7 yards of offense in the second half. Then you have, Cincinnati, which, you're going to need to win a shootout in that game. Kansas City, Tampa Bay, Minnesota, Washington, Philly, New York. Where's your get right game at? So there has to be a big sense of urgency to really get this thing right. Or, who knows what happens and, where you're at in week 9 if you're 4-5 because your offense can't get things going. There has to be a big urgency to get this thing cleaned up, because if you play like you did yesterday, I don't even know if you're beating the Cleveland Browns at this point in week 4. So, very disappointing, but you got to get this thing cleaned up quick. And I think a lot of that, Jeff, like you said, starts with the offensive line and just more creativity in the offense to get your playmakers the football.
Well, the scary part of this whole thing is, and I'm just going to be completely honest with you guys, like next week is a must win.
Absolutely.
And I know we're pulling that out early, but hear me out on this. In the NFL, if you start 0-2, your chances, it's an uphill battle, because people, and I was talking to Booner about this, and Booner, he doesn't necessarily believe in like the 0-2 start thing. He does, but whatever. I look at this stuff and I'll tell you why, because, and this is since 2007. All right. So 2007, 139 teams have gone 0-2. Okay. Only 14 have rallied to make the playoffs. So if you want like a comparison, that's 126 to 14 teams that are 0-2. So can you? Yeah. But you're on an uphill battle. You have 126 examples that didn't and 14 that did since 2007. So what I'm saying is, you are now in a position where you do not have a choice. You have to win next week. It's undoubted. It's not even an argument. And this is where, as much as I want to give Johnny Moe, like, hey, give him a game, or you don't really have time to do that, especially if you're a contender. You have to win. Like even the Eagles got a new OC and they faced the Cowboys. Like they struggled, but they won that game, and thank goodness, because now they don't have to worry about that stat. They're like, well, we won an ugly game. That's why I like the Eagles. You can say what you want about the Eagles. If the Lions won last night's game or yesterday's game looking bad, I think I'd give them more credit. It's like they won it. They found a way to win looking that bad. Like the Eagles did that. The Lions just got absolutely decimated. They look terrible. They have to win next week. You can't start 0-2. And it gets uncomfortable because the Lions were not used to having that conversation. But it's a very real thing. Like the Bengals have struggled starting. They've struggled starting slow the last couple of years, and they played starters in the preseason. And this is where I'm not saying woulda, coulda, shoulda, like hindsight 2020. I'm not trying to go at Dan Campbell or anything, but I'm just asking a question. Do you think he probably thinks to himself, like, I probably should have played the starters a little bit in the preseason, maybe like a drive, like the Bengals did? Or you don't think that matters as much?
I think it matters in in some aspect, because playing an actual game is a lot different than doing like those joint practices. So after they played like that yesterday, I'm sure part of that, he has some thought where, okay, maybe I should have let my offense get a little bit loose in the preseason. Just to, create a flow and kind of create an identity for ourselves, before the season even starts. But kind of on the flip side with that, like Cincinnati did the same thing, but their offense still looks shitty. And in the honestly, the whole game against Cleveland. But maybe we see that next year, just because starting 0-1 in the NFL is never great. And with an offense like this, I'm not saying you should be clicking on all cylinders right away, but it should have looked better than this. So maybe maybe he's thinking, in the preseason, maybe I'll give them a few reps next year, because you can't start like that every year. Things are going to get weird.
I think it matters more with like a new OC. Like if they have, if it was Ben Johnson, you wouldn't be playing, or Aaron Glenn, you don't have to play those guys because they've been here for 2 years, whatever. But I think with a new offense, it's probably worth like thinking about. Maybe we play them a drive or something because it looked like they were ironing out stuff in the game. Like they were like, wait, like they're still figuring stuff out. It's like, dude, we're in the season. Like we're in the thick of it here. Like you have to win games now. It's not a negotiable.
I will say this, Jeff, too, like the whole thing was, and this is another thing that I bought into, was that this is like the same offense, the offense that Johnny Mo built. It did formations, motions. I don't think we motioned way less than we did last year. We didn't use that 6th offensive lineman that we did last year. Like there were a ton of differences. Like myself, I thought, we were going to use a lot of the things that worked last year. And Johnny Mo was going to take, the positives that Ben Johnson brought, which was a lot, and use that this year. There just wasn't much of that. One thing I will say, though, is we did see, we heard a little bit about it in training camp, the sets where Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery on the field at the same time.
Yes.
We did use those, but we used them at the wrong time. So, he got, I think we used Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery on the field at the same time at 3rd and 6. And they both ran swing routes out of the backfield. So, I guess you could say there was somewhat of a creativeness there, just in the wrong spots for a majority of the game. So, you got to hit the whiteboard, Jeff. This offensive unit better have flown home and slept at, Allen Park yesterday and got things right.
Yeah.
Clapping cheeks. We're good. We're good.
Yeah.
We're good.
We're good. I think, listen, I'm not, and we're partially joking with that. Obviously, Davenport, I'm not going to, I think I can't just blame Davenport, although, because Hutch didn't have his best game either. The defensive line, just as a whole, getting after the quarterback, just didn't play well. So I can't even single out Davenport with that. It is just funny. It's like, we're good. We got Davenport. Shout out to
Campbell. That's gonna be used quite a bit this year.
Yeah.
That is going to be. Hopefully not. Hopefully not.
Hopefully Davenport has 3 sacks next week, and then we could say, we're good.
We're good.
We got Davenport. But I will say they got absolutely destroyed up front. They had 46 rushing yards, which I still it's like I'm looking at the number and I'm like, no.
Yeah. Is
There's
this
no
the
way.
Saints offense I'm looking at? Like the number?
Yeah, 46 rushing yards on 22 rushing attempts. They ran for 2.1 yards a carry. Now, the Packers ran for 3.1 yards a carry, which I said on Friday. I said Josh Jacobs is going to run for 3.5 yards a carry. It was actually less. So the run defense was solid, but 2.1 yards a carry. They were 1-4 in the red zone. They had more penalties than the Packers. They were the more undisciplined team. They lost the turnover battle. They lost everything up front. They lost all the battles up front, offensively and defensively, except for the run defense. They were pretty good. They were 5 of 15 on third down. Like, the only positive thing you can bring up is they were 3 of 4 on fourth down. So it's like, yeah, fourth down. We converted 3 of 4. They were 5 of 15 on third down. Like, we're talking about a 33% conversion rate on third down.
Yeah. And bring up that red zone, Jeff. 1 for 4 in the red zone. With all that talent there, get the ball to your playmakers in the red zone. 1 for 4. That's unacceptable, Jeff. They did win the time of possession, though. I think they probably doubled the Packers' time of possession. So
yeah,
that's
the time of possession was 35 minutes to 24 minutes. Yeah, the Packers had 24 minutes time of possession and scored 27 points. So they just didn't really need to be honest. The Lions had 2 rushing first downs the entire game.
Very out of character. Extremely out of character.
Yeah, that's the thing. This Lions offense, I'm not saying is the season over. No, I'm not saying that. But we're reacting to a loss that was really bad. So we're venting, And I think for a team that's their identity has been up front, physical, grit, line of scrimmage, for them to get destroyed like this is tough. Like that's and Dan Campbell came out after the game and said that all of it's correctable. You better hope it's all correctable, because we're talking about if you lose next week, a very scary situation. Now, Dan Campbell spoke on the offensive line. I have a clip here I'm going to play Dan speaking about it, and we'll react to it and kind of give our thoughts. But here's Dan Campbell on the O-line.
The more those five play together, we got 2 young guards, but the more they all play together, the better we're going to get. These are real reps against other opponents, and you get a full game. And man, you go and you teach off of it, and you correct it, and you learn from it, and you move on.
I love how easygoing he is.
Yeah, but you know what his head. There's smoke coming out of those ears, Jeff.
Oh,
you know
he's
he
going to
wants to
tear
go
them a
there.
new ass.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's Dan Campbell at the podium. I know Dan Campbell behind the scenes is going to be like, what? What is going on? All right. What the hell's going on here? All right. And what the offensive line? Yeah. The more they play together, it's going to build rapport and stuff. But I mean, like, I can understand if there's a couple slip ups and you're like, well, those are correctable. They looked like they've never played together. They look like they walked out into Lambeau and said, "Nice to meet you. I'm Taylor Decker. Nice to meet you. I'm Christian Mahogany. Nice to meet you. I'm Tate Rowledge. Nice to meet you. I'm Graham Glasgow." They look like they just met. That's how they played. Honestly, it wasn't even like, oh well, there's some things that they could build on. Graham gave up a sack, but they had the miscommunication on that one play, which they can fix. Like, no, it looked like they just met. Like it looked very, very, very bad for the offensive line. And he also talked about the loss. So I'll play this clip. This is right after the loss last night. We didn't play it last night, but here's Dan.
No, look, man, that team played well. Credit to them, coach the floor, and they came out and they played outstanding. And we didn't play good enough. We didn't coach good enough, including me, and we didn't play good enough. So, like I told the team, it's tough, to go in and not certainly play close to your best game. And you hate starting the season out with a loss. And as bad as that is, it's not what it appears to be. So it's like I told them, let's clean up the tape. We made some critical errors at the worst times possible. And you don't do those. You take those out of the equation, and it looks different. You feel like it's going to be a totally different scenario. But we did make those critical errors at the worst time. So, man, we're going to learn from it. We'll clean it up. It gives us a little barometer where we're at, game one, and that's okay. It's always about improving no matter what.
I love Dan, the coach speak. I'm not going to even go at him. That's what he has to say to the media.
Yeah.
He's not going to come out and be like,
we fucking
stink.
suck. We suck. Johnny Moe has no fucking clue what he's doing. I'm taking the headset off him tomorrow. He's never calling a play ever again. He's not going to say that. We knew that. He's going to do the typical Dan Campbell speak, which I mean, Jeff, me and you talked about it yesterday. I don't know if we're going to play any of the golf stuff, but I mean, golf does the same thing as well, which I like. I mean, I'd rather have that than them come out here and say, I mean, we suck. Everything sucks. He just has to control everybody's panic, I guess, which I mean, I don't mind the coaches talk, but Jeff, like you said, behind closed doors, in that locker room, Dan Campbell probably had some not nice words to say to some of those players.
Oh yeah. He was like, what was that? And why did I have to sit on the sideline and watch that shit? What's going on? All right. That was disgusting. And, I do have Jared Goff speaking as well. So I will put that up in a second. I was trying to see if I can grab the PFF grades, but I don't know if I think they're out. So I'm going to try and see if I can grab them, but let me see. Yeah, I'll look because I do want to look and see the PFF grades, but the thing I'll say too with what Dan's kind of saying is I get in theory what Dan's saying. It's like they're correctable. Of course they are. And, he's a great coach. So you have confidence in Dan. He's actually the only reason why you should be confident, because they have Dan Campbell. I'm not even going to go at Dan Campbell here. I think Dan's the guy that he can kind of right the ship in most really bad situations. He's shown he can do that. But I think even Dan knows it's like, well, we just made critical errors at really, really bad times. But if we don't make those critical errors at those times, it's a lot different. It's like, but Dan, they did. They did make those critical errors at really bad times, and that's concerning. And he understands that, but it's like it's not as easy as like, well, we just don't make those errors, we're good. It's like, well, I didn't see anything in that game offensively that would suggest they wouldn't make those errors in critical situations or critical errors in bad situations.
Yeah.
But Jared spoke about the offense too. Let's hear what Jared had to say. This is the clip you're talking about.
We will. We've got good players. We've got good coaches. We'll be fine. It's just there needs to be a urgency of improvement. It has to be. And today wasn't even close to good enough, I think, offensively. And we got a lot of work to do. Yeah.
Jared.
Like he said, there has to be an urgency. There has to. Because, I mean, I just read you that schedule, Jeff. There's not a game where you're going to be able to kind of just test things out and have it be a get-right game. I mean, the schedule is a dogfight these next couple weeks, honestly, the whole season. So, I mean, this is such an important week of practice. And, man, I'm hoping we watch Chicago tonight and their defense sucks. That's what I'm hoping for because, I mean, we need something. We need something to get going here or – I mean, if you start off 0-2, 0-3 against Baltimore, where do you go from there? And I think a lot of that starts with your offense.
Well, I have the PFF grades. Week 1 PFF grades, Lions Fan Report put it out. The best, Brian Branch, Anzalone at number 2, Sam Laporta at 3, Jahmyr Gibbs at 4, and Amon-Ra at 5. But I don't get the Jahmyr Gibbs must just be the catches. I mean, that's pretty much
that had to be it because I mean he had one nice run, I believe, in the first quarter. I think it was like 2nd and 15, and he got a first down. But other than that, I don't know. Another player I'm surprised we don't see on there who I thought had a pretty nice game. In the chat, you correct me if I'm wrong if I missed a couple plays from him, was Derek Barnes. I think he had himself a nice game. But you brought it up yesterday. I would have liked to see Derek Barnes rush the quarterback a little bit more. Than he did. But, I mean, outside of that, I think he made a couple nice tackles, at the line of scrimmage, a couple open field tackles. So I'm surprised we didn't see him there. But, yeah, really no surprise. Maybe I would have put, Laporta a little bit higher. He had a pretty nice game. But Gibbs, I don't know. Maybe it's the 10 catches, Jeff. But
yeah, he had 40 catches for like 6 yards.
Yeah.
And that's probably
I mean, Jeff, the NFL record for fewest receiving yards for a player that had double-digit catches, I mean, that is inexcusable, man. He is one of the most explosive players in the NFL. Give him the ball in space.
Well, it's crazy how this offense has been setting records the last 2 years, and they just set one yesterday for the opposite reason. It was like, they're still technically setting records. It's just for the opposite. It's actually terrible records, not good records.
Yeah, no, not good records. Shaheen says Barnes 55.2 PFF. Wow, what game was I watching, Shaheen?
I don't know. Well, the worst, let's get to it. Let me see here. Graham was the worst, 43.2. And here's the thing, with no Kenny Clark.
The whole narrative, Jeff, and I brought it up a ton of times on Saturday, we should be able to run the ball on this team. No Kenny Clark. The past couple of years, we've struggled to run the ball against the Packers. I think we averaged probably 3.5 yards a carry the past few years. But they lose Kenny Clark. Micah Parsons is no world beater when it comes to, defending the run. I thought we were going to be able to run the ball successfully. I thought it was going to be a game where Mahogany, Tate Ratledge, and Graham Glasgow would maybe not dominate that interior, but play well enough where we could average, 4.5 yards a carry like the Lions usually do. And as you could see here, you have Mahogany and Graham Glasgow in your top 5 worst with no Kenny Clark in the middle of the Packers defense.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Like, okay, you have no Kenny Clark and you put up that performance. Like, all right, well, we can get to the Eagles with Jalen Carter if you want, or we can get to the Bucs with Vita Vea. Or we can get to, name another contender. Oh, I don't know, the Rams in the NFC with Braden Fisk in the middle. Mm-hmm. Like, this doesn't get any easier. If you can't handle Caleb Czarnik on the Packers in the middle.
Well, that's a tough job, Jeff.
No, it's a tough matchup. What are we doing? Then you're screwed for Jalen Carter. You're screwed. It's.
We better pray he spits on Jared Goff in the first possession, and then gets kicked out of the game.
But then Jordan Davis, even though he's not great, he would still probably dominate Graham Glasgow at this point, at this rate. Graham's got to play better. He knows that. DJ Reader has to play better. DJ Reed didn't have a great performance. It actually lines up with what my eyeballs saw. He just wasn't that great either. Davenport, damn, that doesn't help the narrative at all. Tied for 5th. Panay Sewell and Christian Mahogany. So 3 offensive linemen are on the top 5 list for worst PFF grades. That's just bad. And not only that, but 4 offensive and defensive linemen are on here. So we're talking about trenches. Bad. And then DJ Reader, number 1 corner, which, that's pretty important, I would say. You need a number 1 corner to play well.
Well, in the beginning, like when you're not getting any pass rush, it's hard to stay sticky in coverage for that long. But I'm not giving any excuses to DJ Reed, but when Jordan Love can literally sit back there, play a couple hands of blackjack. I think somebody said in the chat yesterday, have a picnic, plan a trip, hang out with his family back there, dropping back. It's going to be a little difficult to stay sticky in coverage. So, you definitely need to, and look, if it's not, but kind of back to Kelvin Shepherd, if this pressure is not going to come organically through guys like, Hutch and Davenport, whoever's rushing off the edge, if it's not going to come from Tyleek and these guys from the interior, you have to find ways to get to the quarterback. If that's, send Anzo more, if that's sending Brian Branch more, if that's sending Amik Robertson from the nickel more. You have to get to the quarterback, Jeff, especially, look at these quarterbacks we have to play on the road this year. Pat Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Jane Daniels, you have to pressure them. If you're going to give these guys all day to throw, you are going to get fucking torched. So, dude, Jordan Love's not, like I said, look at the schedule. Jordan Love is not even close to the best quarterback we're going to have to play on the road. So you got to find ways to get to the quarterback. And if it's not going to happen organically, just through rushing 4 or rushing 5, you got to send more guys.
Yeah, if Jordan Love looked like Aaron Rodgers last night, like that can't happen. We're talking about better quarterbacks. You might play Tom Brady like 15 times this year. Then you might play all-time great quarterbacks at this level. By the way, they're going to play against this secondary if that's how it looks. And you have Lamar Jackson. By the way, Eric Taylor just said,
Lamar Jackson. Yep, exactly.
Which that doesn't get any easier. That's tough, and that's on the road.
Yeah,
that's in Baltimore.
And dude, back to next week, and Jeff, I do very much agree with you. The fact that next week is a must-win game. It's not like you're playing the New Orleans Saints the week after. It's not like you're playing the Carolina Panthers the week after. You're playing Baltimore on the road. And that's going to be a very difficult game to go on the road and win. I'm not saying they can't, but you would like to get a win at home against Chicago in week 2 before you have to go into Baltimore, who I know their defense didn't look great yesterday it was against Josh Allen. So, what can you really say about that? But Baltimore put up some points, and Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry are not slowing down. So, that makes next week Chicago coming to town makes it even more of a must-win game.
And I'm a big guy on we don't pull out must-wins early,
But I agree with you.
It's a must-win.
Yes, I do.
Because you have to beat the Bears. You have to.
Yeah, because in what world? And again, I'm not coming on here and saying that we have no fighting chance to beat Baltimore, because I absolutely do think we can. I think we can beat Baltimore. But if you start this season like 0-3, that's a tough hill to climb, Jeff. So, like Jared Goff said, like we mentioned a few times, there has to be some urgency to clean things up on both sides of the football.
Didn't Dan say that too? What Bot just said, divisional games count for 2?
Yeah, they do. That's obviously we would have rather had that game be like losing to, Kansas City or Cincinnati or something on the road. It sucks that it was the Packers, a divisional game. A lot of people, they're the favorites in the NFC North. But your road to winning the NFC North just got a lot more difficult.
Shaheen says Hutch only 56.8 PFF grade, pathetic. Hutch only had 3 pressures and 44 snaps, 6.8% win rate.
He was getting chipped a lot, I will say.
Dude,
but even watching his one-on-ones, Jeff, and look, Hutch is a great player. This is his first game back from a horrific injury. But even his one-on-ones, it felt like he wasn't winning a ton of them. which sucked, obviously, because you want to see your star edge rusher get to the quarterback. But yeah, he was getting chipped a ton. But I mean, those one-on-ones on the outside, Hutch has to win more of those.
Yeah, it's tough, man. Hutch was he looked. I think there's things that Hutch is even though he looked good in training camp, he's a guy that, like, again, he's coming off a very bad injury. And I think we have to understand that. It's easy to get excited and be like, oh, he's back. He's going to have a massive year. Like, he's still working back, dude. He's still, like, he's got to get not in a game shape because he's in great shape. But
yeah,
there is a thing about, like, playing in games. Like, he has to play. Training camp's one thing. When you get out there in Lambeau and you're playing against a team that, it's not like you're playing against the same players every single day. You're playing against new players. They're game planning for you. It's not like preseason where the backups are, it's all vanilla stuff. These coordinators are whipping out the best of the best, like game plan specifically for the Lions. Then yeah, like Hutch is gonna, like, I'm not worried about Hutch really at all. The thing I look at is Davenport's one of the worst graded players. That's not good. DJ Reader, another defensive lineman. That's not good. Their defensive line has to be better. I mean, they just do. And I'm not talking about against the run. I'm talking about rushing the quarterback. Because like you said, the level of talent they have at quarterback they're playing this year, if you're giving Lamar Jackson that time, he's going to throw for 4 touchdowns and run for another one. Like, he's going to absolutely destroy you. And then Derrick Henry, like, the RPO with like, you're screwed with Derrick Henry if you play like that. Yeah, because Derrick Henry's going to rush for $150, and then Lamar Jackson, you're sitting there making business decisions on whether Derrick Henry has the ball or Lamar Jackson. And then, over the top, Zay Flowers or Mark Andrews for a touchdown. I mean, you're going to get absolutely worked. So
yeah,
I hope Taron Arnold, I don't know what the official report was for his, like, injury. I hope he's okay.
I think he was getting an MRI after the game yesterday or today or something. So we should know more about that. But, like, I don't know if you're going to pull it up. But yeah, he said he did it. What was it? The second Green Bay possession. And then right after that, he gave up that deep ball against Romeo Doubs. I thought before that he had a couple nice pass breakups. Obviously, gave up a couple catches. But, I mean, I remember he did have a nice pass breakup kind of at the pylon in the red zone. It might have been against Dobbs or Reed, Wicks, one of them. I don't know. They're all the same to me. But, yeah, I mean, we don't want Terrion to go down.
Yeah, I don't have an update on what Taron Arnold has yet. I know he had a groin. It's the groin injury, but I don't have an actual diagnosis yet. So I'll wait for that, and we'll probably we'll address that later tonight. I'm sure we'll have news at this point, but the groin injury is never good. That's I've injured my groin before. That is it's a pain in the ass, dude.
Yeah, because there's nothing you could do for it. It's not like you could, there's nothing you can do. And again, I'm no doctor, but it's the same as like a hamstring.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're basically like handicapped for weeks. I mean, it sucks, depending on how bad it is. I'm not saying the guy like tore it off the freaking bone or anything, but it depends if it's a strain. If you pull it, whatever it is, those things, it sucks. It sucks ass, and it lingers, and especially for a corner with that type of mobility he needs to have, like that it's going to suck. So. This is why cornerback depth, Rock Ya-Sin's probably going to have to step up if they play him next week or whatever the case may be. I'm going to be honest. I'll just say it now. I doubt he plays next week. I'll just say they're probably. Yeah, I don't know if they'll play this week. Honestly,
that's not an injury you want to play around with.
No, I wouldn't. I'd probably just bring him back for Baltimore. To be honest, if we're going to end up playing him. Michael says, "Why didn't we make Tanner the OC?" Well,
isn't that the funniest thing of all time, Jeff?
I know people are going to go here and say that. And Tanner was actually my pick for OC. Like, I wanted Tanner to be OC just because this is what I think. All right. And I'm not going to, again, we're going to do the hindsight thing. And we don't know if Tanner's going to be good for a whole season or not, but this is the reason why I wanted Tanner to be OC. I think the NFL is moving towards young OCs, like young coaches. Like, look at Jeff Hafley. Like, Jeff Hafley came from college. He's the Packers DC. Calvin Shepard, I believe in. He's a young guy, former player. Tanner's been around Ben. He's been the pass game coordinator. The pass game's been amazing. He knows the offense. But I think Dan, in his mind, wanted to move to more of an experienced coach and didn't go with Tanner. But I just love that AG was like, okay, come over here, Tanner. Like, I don't give a shit. He's a smart dude, And then look at he had a hell of a debut. They torched the Steelers defense.
Yeah,
torched them with less talent. So I get why people would say Tanner. Like, I'm not going to argue that. I think Tanner's a bright dude. I've always thought that. But I think that's why Dan ultimately went with John, is he wanted someone that was a little more experienced. He wanted a quote unquote adult in the room. You know, he's 50 plus years old. He's been in the league for 20 something years. But guess what, man? Doesn't mean he's gonna pan out just because he's been in the league longer. Just telling you, doesn't mean anything. So we'll see how that ages.
Yeah, that was the big discussion. And the offseason when we were doing, when the Lions were looking for their coordinators, a lot of it was, and I was one to say it, I wanted a more experienced guy in there. Like, I like the Johnny Moe hire, and maybe at the end of the season I'm going to like it even more if he turns this offense around. But a lot of the conversation was, the Lions are in a window where they could win the Super Bowl. I don't want 2 rookie coordinators on the staff, that being Kelvin Shepherd and Ingstrand. So, looking back at yesterday, I would have liked Tanner Ingstrand to be our OC yesterday. But we'll see how things play out throughout the year. Because
the last time you had a rookie OC, it was Ben Johnson. He's pretty good. So it's not always a bad thing. It just depends on who who it is.
Yes, exactly.
Like, who is the rookie OC? Is it like one of the brightest guys in the league, play caller wise, or are we talking just random dude that you pluck off the street or something? It just depends. And I thought Tanner was more than qualified, but who am I? I don't know. Aaron Glenn feels that way. So shout out to Aaron Glenn. That hell of a game they played, even though they lost, but that was
very encouraging for Jets fans. Jets fans should be very, I was watching that game a little bit, and you're seeing, the Jets players, running around on defense, Aaron Glenn getting fired up on the sideline. So Jets fans should be very encouraged from that game yesterday, and good for Aaron Glenn.
Wubot says, I'm sick of this Gruden shit too. RCE didn't recognize, communicate, or execute yesterday. Mr. 28 years, no pressure. Listen. And Eric Taylor says John Moe said he loves explosive plays. I didn't see one. Well, they didn't have. I didn't think they could get to as many as they wanted to because of the pressure on Jared Goff. I think there's truth to that. Like, you're not letting plays develop, but that doesn't excuse how bad the offense looked. I'm just talking about explosive plays. It's hard for Goff to sit back and let plays develop like Jordan Love was able to if you have guys in his face. Yeah, like
but
Jordan Love was sitting back there, chilling. Waving to his mom in the crowd, Lady Ma, and then he would throw a 40-yard dime to Romeo Dobbs. Like, they just didn't have that type of. You can't. It's tough.
But we had the conversation earlier. It was like, even though the O-line played really bad and there was no time, like, a good OC is going to find ways around that to have these chunk plays, to make these explosive plays. What do we have? How many chunk plays do we have, Jeff? 2? Maybe 2. The throw to Laporta for 30-something yards, and maybe an Amon-Ra 20-yard catch. Like, that was it. That's inexcusable for how much talent is on this offense. I don't care how bad the offensive line is. Yeah, the Packers' defensive line destroyed the Lions' game plan. But if you're a good OC, you find ways around that. You find ways to get your playmakers the ball in space. And no, that doesn't count. Jahmyr Gibbs getting 10 checkdowns, 3 yards past the line of scrimmage. No, that doesn't count for giving your playmakers the ball in space. So the offensive line looked terrible. It was hard to develop any sort of, game plan on offense. But, you got to make something happen. That's your job. You know your personnel. You might have known going into that game, hey, our offensive line might struggle today. It's their first game playing together. You should have known that and game planned around it. But, that is very hard to say because the whole foundation of the Detroit Lions has been the offensive line these past couple of years. But, you got to find ways around it.
It's a continuity issue. They have to. I think that's why I'm not going to. I think this offensive line discussion will be over pretty quickly because they have the talent. Like, they have, you have the arguably the best tackle in the game. Who else has that? All right, you have that. Mm-hmm. You have a top 15, top 20 left tackle. You have 2 guards that struggled really bad, but one in Christian Mahogany that's more. I think you can see a little more promise. I think Tate's a rookie. You just got to see him grow a little more. But they have more than the Rams do on the offensive line. Look at the Rams. They're always good with Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay. They never have the best offensive line, but they always make it work. So to your point, I do believe, but that offensive line for the Rams have played together, so there's continuity. That's what I think the Lions are lacking. They just need to play more games together because it's not a talent issue. Like, I'm not going to excuse Johnny Moe when we're 4 weeks in because of the O-line. Like, you have the best player, arguably one of the best players in the league, a top 20 tackle. Like, that's going to run out quickly. I'm willing to give him the offensive line for week 1, But once you get into week 4 and 5, you're like, okay, dude, you're like, you have Panay like Panay didn't play well yesterday. Like, so I'm willing to give John Morton a little more like, hey, I get it. Offensive line was bad, but this ain't, I mean, we can't sit here and act like they got, one of the worst O-lines in the league. But they have the talent. They have some talent to be at least middle of the pack. At least middle of the pack. A top 12, like 12 to 15 at the worst.
That's what makes me feel a little bit better about this whole line situation is because there is talent on that offensive line. It's just going to take some time to grow together as an offensive line. But if it was like some Joe Schmo playing left guard for us, or these guys are good players. If these were just some like nobodies playing,
like the Dolphins are screwed. Dolphins are screwed. They got nobody. They're screwed. You know what I'm saying? Like at that point, you're like, we're fucked. Like there's nothing we can do about it. At least the Lions are like, I'm going to give Johnny Moe that excuse yesterday, but you're running out of time with that one. Like we gotta get this shit together here. So, it is difficult, but the Lions, before we end the show, what's your overall like panic level right now? The day removed out of 10 being we're screwed. We're missing the playoffs.
Okay. Well, yesterday, I'm not going to lie. It was probably around like a 7 or an 8. Just because I just watched that game happen and I was pretty furious, but probably around a 6.5 around there, just because I mean, and I know we talked about this before the season, and I know this is something that I bought into and maybe shouldn't have. Jeff, this team is just so talented, and Boone brought it up yesterday, and it was a great point. Dan Campbell is not going to let this ship fall. I mean, if this stuff with Johnny Moe goes really bad, he's going to take the headset away from him. He'll call the plays, which we know he can do. But I think things are going to get turned around. There's a lot of talent on this team, and you just got to win next week. It's on to Chicago now. So I would say right now it's probably a 6.5. But I mean, what we saw yesterday is not encouraging.
It was actually the opposite of encouraging. It was discouraging. Yes. I don't know. That was just makes you. Boy Juan. Dan is 0-4 in week 2 games. Okay. We don't need this. We don't need this today.
But the tide might have changed because the Dan Campbell was undefeated in week 1 against the spread. So maybe it's like we're flipping trends this week.
Yeah,
this year.
Yeah, we're flipping trends. It's just Damon Dice says Bears don't have any top 100 players. I don't know. Oh, Damon Dice, Goff, top 7 QB, Gibbs, top 3 running back, Monty, a good running back, St. Brown, a top 5 wide receiver, JMO, future star, Laporta, top 4 tight end, Sewell, top player in the league, Hutch, potential defensive player of the year, Branch, Joseph, all in the top 100. Is he trying to make the argument like what is going on because of you have all this talent? Because that's fair. That is fair. What about 6 teams that made the playoffs on 0-3 teams?
Got to win next week. Jeff made a great point. Next week's a must win, and I think it's very fair to say.
Yeah, like I said earlier in the show, for those who missed it, since 2007, 139 teams have gone 0-2. Only 14 of the 139 teams have made the playoffs. So
it's tough. Got to win. What's your panic?
126 to 14 is the math. So if you like those chances,
we could roll the dice.
Yeah, we can roll the dice. It's we can roll the dice, man.
What's your panic level, Jeff? 1 to 10.
Probably like I'd say about I'm a little higher than I'd probably say about 7.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if they lose next week, 9, 10.
Seriously. Absolutely.
Yeah, if they lose next week, I'm at the max. Like we're screwed. Or at least borderline screwed. Unless some like miracle happens where they beat the Ravens and then they beat all these good teams and they rattle off 4 or 5 straight.
Yeah.
But that would be very, very difficult. Freddie felt, Jeff, one thing I've learned is that our fan base is softer than baby shit. Okay, well, here's the thing, Freddie. Because I think fans, fanatics, people are going to react to how they react. But Freddie, I do think why I think people freaking out about yesterday depends on how bad you're freaking out. Like, I think it's fair to be worried. Like, I don't know. I don't think it's fair to be like, oh, they looked awful yesterday. Not worried at all. Like, what? I would love to be your friend then, because you keep me positive all the time. Which it's just not, but that's not the reality. Like, shit, you have to acknowledge that when it looks like that yesterday, that's not acceptable. Like, that's bad. That's not good. Is it the end of the world? Like Freddie's saying, no, I don't think it's the end of the world. But I don't blame people for being like, what in the hell was that? That's concerning. Is it the end all be all? No, but it's concerning. It is. If you say it's not concerning, to me, all due respect, you're living in denial. If you say that's not concerning, that's you're in denial. I don't know how you don't look at that game, because if they look great, guess what people would have said? The lines are here.
Yeah, ready to
So
go.
why is it only one-way streets? Why do we only acknowledge when they look good? Why can't we point out if they look bad? Like, that's concerning. But if they look great, it's like, we're winning the bowl. It's like, no, because then if I told you, Caleb, shut up, they're not winning the bowl, you're just overreacting. You'd be like, Jeff, they looked amazing yesterday. It's the same thing I'll say. It's like they look like garbage. They look like garbage yesterday. I'm not even talking about. I'm just ranting. This isn't even about Freddie. Freddie said, Jeff, they're freaking out because we only lost 3 times in a calendar year. Twice in the regular season, the Commanders game. Yeah, I mean, people.
It's how they lost. Also,
to Freddie's point, like, yeah, people are gonna. There's people that freak out too much. I mean, I get it. It's part of the. It happens. So I get what Freddie's saying for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's tough. I wouldn't freak out. Yeah, last year was completely different. That was different circumstances. That was injuries and a bunch of shit, man. Like, the injuries were just too bad last year. This is different. This ain't even injuries.
Well, it was because I think a lot of it too is because all of the, like, how do I word this? If all of the, if this goes right, the Lions are going to be good. Like, all of those things went bad yesterday. The Marcus Davenport, the Johnny Moe at OC, like, nothing, the interior O-line, like, all of those X factors didn't do well yesterday. So that's where I think the panic came in a lot of the time. Like,
yeah.
But again, it is week 1, and I wouldn't even call like what we're doing an overreaction at all, because yeah, they played terribly, but I mean, you don't want to fall too far behind in this division, and losing week 1 and in a divisional matchup is for a team that a lot of people think is going to win the Super Bowl. Yeah, I'm gonna have some things to say after the way we played.
Yeah, it's like
for every Lions fan.
Someone said in the comments, which it was a great comment. I'm sorry I didn't see who said it, because I would like to give them credit. But someone said it took 17 games to win the division. It's a good point. This division's tough, man. It's gonna take everything. So they got to lock in, man. Beat the Bears next week. We'll see how the Bears look tonight. We'll be live tonight, 8 p.m. to watching the Bears game. So come hang out. We'll chop it up. Maybe have some bets in. Come hang out with the fellas. It'll be a great show. Great watch party. We'll be live at 7 though, an hour before the watch party, to break down the game. Booner's going to be joining the show. I'm going to see and reach out if we can get some special guests. So tune in at 7 p.m. tonight to hear more of our thoughts, and then 8 p.m. for our watch party, Bears-Vikings. So come hang out. It'll be a lot of fun. Appreciate you, Caleb, joining me this morning, chopping it up. You guys can follow Caleb on Twitter at Caleb Czarnik, and then you can follow me at Jeff Iafrate on Twitter as well. And subscribe, hit the like button on the way out. And like I said, turn on the notification bell, because we'll be live at 7 p.m. 7 p.m. And shout out to Isaac Tesla. B-Love just says play Tesla more.
Shout out.
He was the only one that showed life yesterday.
And D-Hop I'll say this before we end. D-Hop had a great catch yesterday, but I don't know if we see a better catch than that all year, Jeff, from Isaac
No,
Tesla.
was.
So there was a positive. The 2 positives from yesterday's game, Jake Bates, Isaac Tesla.
I feel bad because he didn't get to celebrate like he would have if that game was like close.
Yeah.
Like if he would have made that in a close game, he would have jumped into like the stands, Lambeau lead.
Dude.
It's like you could tell he caught it and he's like, holy shit, I just made the greatest catch I've ever made, but we're down like literally 3 scores. Like I can't really celebrate.
Yeah.
I have to kind of like just be like I know he wanted to just throw the football in the air and start freaking.
Yeah, I mean, good for him, though. Good for him. If he would have celebrated, I wouldn't have cared, because that catch was incredible. That's a great way to start your NFL career. Shout out Isaac Tesla.
Yeah, first catch, first teaching. Was that his first catch?
Yeah.
I think he had.
Yeah, I think, dude, he probably only played 10% of the snaps. Like, it was a lot of Cleve Raymond in there. That might have been his only
I'm just saying, people aren't going to like it, but.
Yeah, 3 snaps, 1 TD, Booner said. That's efficiency right there. You're on the field 3 times, you're going to score once. I'll take those.
This is why you wait. Yeah, I'm just saying. It's just because you might have a wide receiver 2 right there. But it's fine, whatever. Now he's going to be wide receiver 3 for the next 4 years. So congrats, Isaac. Appreciate it. We'll be back at 7 p.m. tonight. Come tune in. Come tune in. Come join the fellas. Until then, appreciate you all.